Getting the smile and confidence you've been dreaming about, all from the comfort of your home, isn't a total mystery with Bite Clear Aligners. Just don't be surprised if all your friends start asking, "What's your secret?" Begin by ordering your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95. Bite Clear Aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces, plus they offer flexible financing, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
There's no distance too far for the perfect trip.
Hi, checking in for...
Or the perfect table.
Hey, where are you?
Coming!
And when you get access to Resi Priority Notify with your Amex Platinum card...
Hey, this looks amazing.
I'm so glad you made it.
And travel benefits at fine hotels and resorts booked through Amex Travel, it's worth the trip. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex.
This is Full Change with Tom Laidlaw.
Hey there, Thomas. We're into the second round for the Rangers on this beautiful spring in New York. How you feel? Did you watch? Game one just happened last night. Did you watch?
Yeah, very excited. I haven't. Some of the games can be a little dragging on compared to my old way we played, so I haven't been watched a ton of games. But that was a fantastic game. The highlight of the night, I thought, was when who was it? Kreider ran a guy. Now it was from behind a little bit. It was early in the game. Ran him, and then the guy got up and Trouba hit a.
Oh my God! Trouba freight traded him as soon as was it Seth Jarvis? I think it was Seth Jarvis.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, like the problem with last year's team, it didn't seem like that spirit was there. In fact, we talked about Goudreau going out getting a fight, and then the rest of the bench didn't do anything.
Oh no, it's there. It's definitely there.
That was a good game. Especially they were off for a week. Sometimes it takes a while to get going, but they were on fire. Like the backhand pass that Kreider made on the power play and everything.
Yes, awesome. And I want to go back to a point from our last episode. We had Kevin Klein on, and he said, I think that when he came to the Rangers in 2014, he injected him with this energy. He said that it was just a different energy. And I think that's the biggest effect that Matt Rebbe's had on the team. Yeah. I mean, because there's a different energy with him on the team. Not that he's going to fight and score whatever, but he's just, he said after they asked him, you worry about that penalty he took? And he said, no, he goes, I know my boys would kill it all for me.
Yeah. See, that's cool. Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah. To know that he affects the team that much as a 21-year-old doing that he's got to go and play this game. And he shouldn't got called that penalty anyways, but he's going to be a mark man for a while, and that's going to happen. Yeah, that's right. I think that's fantastic that the team will let him know, hey, go play your game. Yep. We'll kill off the penalties we need to kill off.
Yeah. And Kreider that wasn't a great penalty by Kreider. He hit him from behind. But then, like you said, if you watch the replay, as soon as he gets up, Trouba just pounds him.
I watched that. And then I thought, I said, did I really see that? And then they played it again.
Oh, yeah. Cool. On the replay, it's because he gets up. He's like, okay, I'm up, boom.
Yeah.
But then, and there was the play with Tony DeAngelo. Did you think that was a penalty? There's a lot of controversy on that, and especially with PK Subban and Mark Messier on the.
I didn't think it was a high hit. I don't like Tony DeAngelo, so I would tell you if he did, but I didn't think it was a high hit. He's a small guy, so he was going up into him, but I thought he hit him in the chest. And at first, they called the trippy penalty on the other guy.
Yeah, they got that totally wrong.
Yeah.
I think what happened with having ref several games, I think when he extends his arm, it just looks real bad. Yeah. So he does kind of make initial contact with the shoulder, but then he throws his elbow goes up afterwards, and it just looks bad.
God, he's a hateable player, isn't he? He's like Marchand, like yapping all the time and everything. Oh, geez.
But I didn't get why they booed him because he wanted to stay. They traded him. I mean, yeah.
Well, because he made the comments to Georgiev, remember?
Yeah, they were throwing, right? Wasn't there fist thrown or something?
Well, I didn't hear that, but he said, "Don't want to just get in the net and stop the puck or something." And he maybe became more than that. But he was getting in confrontations with the fans. Like he would be in the Madison Square Garden, going back and forth on Twitter or whatever, and challenging the fans to meet him outside the building.
Yeah, and he got in trouble for saying some racist things back when he was younger and Philly. I mean, I don't want to say he's a typical Philly guy, but he's a Philly guy.
Listen, they booed me when I came back. I wasn't that. They boo all guys who come back. First of all, now he's even more so because of the way he acts. So.
Did they really boo you?
Oh yeah. It's something about coming back to the Garden when you used to play for the Rangers. Now you're coming back as another player.
So you didn't have a tribute video?
No. Well, first of all, there wasn't any tribute video back then, but I don't think I would add. There's not much to tribute.
Here's Tom clearing the puck. Here's Tom in front of the net.
The 1 year where they played all 80 games, didn't score a goal. Players. What's the highlights there?
That's amazing.
Well, that was a big moment. I remember watching the game and Phil said that. Like he was all excited. I scored a goal in the playoffs and Phil was just doing the games. Phil Esposito. He goes, he played all 80 games. He didn't score a goal and he got player and now he scores.
That's amazing. Because someone like Phil, who scored a goal just by breathing,
Yeah.
like, how do you go 80 games without a goal?
I remember how fired up he was about it. Like I think he kind of realized what has gone on. Like, let me get this straight. He played all 80 games. He didn't score a goal. You're a player's player.
And that's why he's one of the best analysis. You know, we've been talking about this before. Before the show, we talked about how like PK gets a lot of heat on ESPN, but guys like that you want on. You want Espo doing the Lightning games on the radio because he's great. He's almost unhinged.
Yeah, Dave Maloney's like that too.
Dave Maloney, oh my gosh, Dave Maloney too. And he's a homer. And you know what? You want a homer. It's not the national broadcast.
I know. People talking about homers. Why is that a bad thing? Yeah, that's your team that you follow all year long.
You're paid by. You work for that team. Yeah. So you want a homer there. But like if I'm watching the game on ESPN, yes, you want those guys to play it straight. Right. But whatever. Just,
although, and you're right, I agree with you, but like Biz friend, Biz Nasty there, where's she on, TBS or
TNT?
TNT? He clearly, he openly talks about how he doesn't like the Rangers and doesn't like the Ranger fans, right? But he's smart about that. We've talked. He knows what he's doing. He's getting the Ranger fans.
He also doesn't like the Islander fans. He's trolling. He's trolling in New York, and it's smart.
He talks about how he loves the Maple Leafs and all that kind of stuff. So he's a smart homer is what he is.
He did get let down again by the Leafs, who lost to the Bruins again in Game 7.
Jeez.
And someone said it's the last time was in, I think, 1959 was the last time that the Leafs beat the Bruins in the playoff series, which is crazy. Right? Yeah, that's crazy.
And that's that culture there. Because I remember you go back to the Doug Gilmour or Wendell Clark. Sure. That was a gritty team. They had Pat Burns as coach.
Yep.
It's anything but gritty, though. Excuse me, they're a soft bunch of guys.
But even later on with that Matt Sundin team and Ty Domi, that team was, they were good too, and they just never.
Yeah. It is a tough city, but I think part of it is like when I watch Marner, Matthews, and Nylander's a little bit more gritty. But Matthews and Marner, I just feel like grow up a little bit, guys. Like they're crying on the bench there the other night. So
something is definitely rotten there. Matthews gets his 60 goals. You can't. I think Marner's going to be the one who gets. Maybe Marner and Tavares might be.
But we didn't have this discussion. So what did Matthews get? 68 goals?
69.
69.
Yeah.
And he what 32 assists?
I'm not sure. No, I think so. Yeah.
When's the last time you saw a star player get that much of a discrepancy between goals and assists that way? Usually it's more assists than more goals.
Ovechkin.
No, he's never gotten more goals and more assists. I have to look that up.
Always gets more goals than assists.
No, but not that big of a spread. I don't think it's ever really. I'll look that up.
Well, look, the year Kreider scored 52, I think he had 25 assists.
Really?
Yeah. So I think it happens more than you think.
I just don't like that look.
Something's wrong with the Leafs, and they are very top heavy. But something is definitely they'll probably make some big changes. But it's
I think. Yeah, the whole cap thing too. Like they misspent their cap. Like most teams, they have two top end guys at forward, one defenseman, and one goaltender. They just don't have goaltending either.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems. Yeah, it's if you want to look this up, I already did it for you, but it's like Ovechkin had 53 and 28, 50 and 21, 51 and 28. Yeah.
All right.
Wow, and you admitted it. That's growth.
Well, I think I have to. Inside, I really don't believe it, but I just think publicly, I just have to say it. Yeah.
3 typos there. That's wrong. But yeah, so the Leafs are out. The Rangers are playing Carolina. That's a great series. 2 good teams. Rangers squeaked by in the first. They looked very good in the beginning. A couple of late goals, but they looked great in the beginning. I mean, that power play is deadly.
Oh man, they moved back. Even their second power play is pretty good too. That's a good argument.
Is good. But like the pass you were talking about, the pass Kreider made to Mikko, it was just Trocheck first to Kreider, then Kreider to Mikko.
They had a stat that the first 2 power plays they only had like 23 seconds on the ice total, and they scored 2 goals.
2 goals. Yeah, that's great.
And then like the first one, all 5 players on the ice touched the puck like bing bang bing bang. And when Kreider first did that, so it's kind of lucky. Then you go back to it, you can tell they practice that.
They practice the play all the time. In fact, so much so that Zibanejad tried to do a similar play with Panarin, and they gave the puck away. He was all alone by himself.
Yeah, and we talked about it too. And I like him a lot. He's a fantastic player. He's almost too nice. He needs to be a little bit more selfish. Like when he gets that opportunity for his own team, he needs to score that goal there.
I don't know. I saw it online somewhere. They said when he scores the goal, it's like he looks like when Kreider scores the goal, he looks like he's storming the gates and leading the revolution. When Zibanejad scores the goal, it's like they're singing "Happy Birthday" and he's embarrassed.
Yeah, I know.
That's pretty perfectly summed up. But this team's looking.
Yeah, Kreider's got more and more like that too. He scores a goal. He's got that big, gets down low. He's got that growl.
Lions roar. Yeah. And when I just think that this team is playing really well. I mean, anything can happen, but they look really good after a week off.
And the depth and everything too. Like good defensemen. That Schneider's playing well. They've very up. Trouba and Miller. They're not together any longer.
But if you notice, I think their bottom 6 is very solid right now.
Yeah, they're good guys. What's that young kid? Kudos or what's his name?
Willie Cooley. Yeah.
Cooley. I like him. Yeah,
so
he's
do
a
I.
pretty kid. Yeah. And I just like Goudreau. I just love the way he's you can tell he's yapping at the other guys.
Yep.
And he's trying to get things.
It's great. And the Wenberg trade wasn't flashy, but it was a third line center who does everything right. I mean, that's what you need. You need that depth. And then of course Capo Caco settled into the role on the third line, and he's playing well. And
they were talking about Hedl coming back. You think that's going to happen?
They are, but I think part of the problem is that Roslovic's picked up his game now, and he's playing well. So who do you take out of the lineup? You know.
Yeah. And you know what? With that kind of injury, the longer you stay out, I think the better. So if you don't really need him right now, then don't put him in there. Typically, most coaches, if you're winning, you don't change the lineup.
And they've won 5 in a row, so they're on a heater right now. But it's a new series.
They're on a heater?
They're on a heater.
Who talks like that?
Everybody. It's a hot streak. Ask Eddie, 10-year-old hockey player. Hey, you guys won 3 in a row. You're on a heater.
I've never heard that in hockey terms.
Oh, man. Well, you're a little out of hockey terms, though. You got to get back into this a little bit. It's on a heater.
When I was a kid. Well, we didn't say dashboards either when I was a kid. But dashboards. It was boards.
Oh, the dasher? You don't say dasher boards?
No,
yeah. Yeah, we said boards too, glass boards.
And we wore sweaters. We didn't wear jerseys.
I know that, another famous Wayne Gretzky story. When I was in 1984, they did the All-Star game at the Meadowlands, which is where the Devils played. And they had a practice the day before. It was free for fans. It was like one of the first ones they had done. So we went. We all skipped school, went to the practice, met the players. They're signing autographs. Gretzky gets my brother. My brother has his Ranger jersey. And Gretzky says to him, "What are you doing with that Ranger sweater, kid?" And my brother's probably 9 or 10. He's like, "Got to get an Oilers sweater." So that was like a mission in 1984 for my parents to find a Wayne Gretzky jersey in New Jersey for their son. And they got it. And he had his little Wayne Gretzky jersey.
That's very good.
The vinyl printed Gretzky jersey. But more Gretzky stories.
Yeah, we never used to talk about chiclets either. We didn't say chiclets. We didn't do lettuce. We didn't say those kinds of words. We didn't say the show.
Yeah.
I think the guys in the minors called it the show, but the guys that are in the NHL didn't call it the show.
A lot of that is, that's Canadian culture, and a lot of and Kevin Kline talked about how that was Letterkenny, and that those shows Shoresy, that's all about hockey slang. But the creator Jack Kiso said they just overhear like kids talking around hockey rinks, and that's how he gets all that dialect, So those are as a coach of 8 and 9-year-olds and 9 and 10-year-olds, they do speak like that all the time. Nice salad, bro. Nice salad, and they all have
salad or lettuce.
Both can be both.
Okay.
Yeah. So. And they all sell it. They all want to sell it. I got to sell it.
Yeah, that's certainly changed, and that's good. But we didn't want to celebrate too much. So like you've done it before, so don't celebrate kind of mentality.
Yeah. And I think, but at the 10U and 8U or Might and Pee Wee, they still encourage it because it's still you have fun in the game. Yeah. But I want to ask you. So now a lot of the Rangers are very huggy. And you earlier, ball fair, you said, like, what's with all this hugging? I don't love
Kreider. Like, I love Kreider and Zibanejad, but they don't have to love each other so much on the ice. Like the hugging part,
well, you're not a hugger. You're a fist bumper.
Yes.
See, I'm a hugger. I don't mind it. I'm fine with that. I think maybe it's a generational thing, but I think it's good. Do you hug your boys when they come over?
We don't hug. We fist bump. We always tell each other we love each other. There's always love there, but it's no hugging.
You don't hug, really?
No. The fist pumps, but big time love. Like we make sure we leave the room or we hang up the phone and we say we love each other before we.
Okay, no, we're huggers for sure, and I think that these kids, even the young kids, hug each other, which is for me that was a little weird. I'm like, why are they so huggy? So there's a lot of hugging in hockey, and that's okay. Hockey hugs are okay, man. Yeah. It's a good.
That's supposed to be. I think there's a rule against hugging so much in hockey. That's supposed to.
Listen, there's a very famous hug in 1987 when the Canada Cup, the Canadian team scored against the Russians to take the lead. Gretzky Lemieux on that 2-on-1. Gretzky jumps right into Lemieux's arms in a famous hug.
I guess like at big occasions like that, I think a hug's okay. But like to just hug after every goal or every I think big things too. Like they'll go by the bench now and they high five me on the bench. No. We did that. You pat each other in the pads. Great job. Let's go line up at the face off. Let's go get it going.
Yeah, but like if you watch Kreider, he hugs Zibanejad after every game.
Yes, there's a lot of hugging.
Last one out, and that's fine. They're best. Zibanejad was Kreider's best man in his wedding. They're friends. They're not afraid to show their feelings, which you talk about so eloquently on this show.
You can talk about your feelings verbally. You don't have to hug.
Why not?
Men aren't supposed to hug, man.
Says who? Men aren't supposed to talk about feelings either, right, Tom?
It's in the collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah, that's why you're not an agent anymore.
Sure, they should have a rule. No hugging. Or you're allowed a certain number of hugs per game.
This is ridiculous. Listen, hug. Show your feelings. Show your emotions.
You can still show your feelings.
You can
show your feelings by picking up the phone and calling them, saying, "Hey, listen, I missed you. I haven't talked to you in a long time." Saying hello, paying attention to the conversation, showing them respect.
Shane and Cody, next time you go over for your Sunday dinner, Give your dad a big hug. See how he reacts.
We wouldn't do that. And it'd be the most awkward thing in the planet.
Seriously. And what are your wives or girlfriends are there? Please film it. We'll post that right up. We'll see how cringy that's going to be for you guys.
Terrible. It wouldn't even happen. That would be painful. Yeah, we'd all want to go take a shower after. So, yeah.
If you're listening, if you're a big fan of the show and you see Tom in an event, give him a hug. Don't even ask. Just go in for the hug.
So now that has happened. When I first got going in the True Good Life, we had a bowling thing in Midtown Manhattan, and then this nice gentleman comes. I've never seen him before. Comes running over to me, started hugging me. And I was a little bit taken back by it, but it was okay. Hey, he's very emotional. He said, "Tom, you saved my life." He said, I had to lose 70 pounds. I could not do it until I started following your show. Wow. And then I lost 30 pounds. So in that case, he was continuing to hug me all night, but I understood why. So it's good.
And you're okay. You survived.
Yeah. We talked this before. I've been very fortunate to get to deal with a lot more kids with autism and Down syndrome and all that.
They don't care at all. They just jump on you.
Totally. And if they don't want to talk to you, they're walking away too. Right. And a few years ago, I just kind of started dealing with a lot of them. We're at a Ranger event, and a young boy, for whatever reason, was just attached to me, and he went to say goodbye, and he comes running over, starts hugging me in front of the big crowd. His parents were all like, "Oh no, no, it's fine. This is good." They was like, "It's fine." So there's certain situations, I guess, with kids too.
So if James Patrick wanted to give you a hug after a game, you'd be like, "No, I'm not doing it."
Okay, if it was in the heat of the moment, we just won a big game. Like, let's say I'd scored the winning goal instead of Kenny Morrow, right? After that game 5 in 1984. We would have hugged each other then, but it wouldn't have been like the problem. And again, I want to clear Kreider's advantage that I think are fantastic. So just this one little thing. So, but it's this big ceremony at the end of the game. Like, they don't leave the ice until they hug each other.
Kreider's always been the last one out. That's great. He wants to be the last one off the ice, and he hugs the bad guy. That's his center. That's his best bud, and I'm all for it. And people love it.
People don't like stage fights. That's a staged hug.
Wow.
It's
just a hug.
It should be an emotional moment. Something big has happened. You hug. Okay, get away. That's fine.
I think this is you. I think we have to work on Tom. So,
I think they probably practice it. Like, they should go to the practice facility and say, okay, here's what we're going to do when we hug each other at the end of the game.
Or he just sees his buddy who he loves, and he's like, hey, man, we did.
But it's a stage. They got the spotlight on it and everything.
Oh, that's not them. That's the Garden doing that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like... It's a stage thing.
You know what? Next time you do one of these events when you're at the fire department or somewhere with Chris Kreider, you have to ask him about that.
Maybe I'll just walk up to him and give him a hug.
He'll hug you right back. He's probably a good hugger. We got to get Tom hugging people. We got, we're coming up on 100 episodes. We got to get Tom hugging. You know someone who probably does hug, and he's a very good-looking man? Our next guest today, Sheldon Souray. I'm sure he's a hugger.
He probably hugs. He's got his kids that he hugs, his wife, obviously. Like, I'd hug my kids when they're smaller. But now, then he got a lot of people hugging him. He's a good-looking man.
He is a good-looking man. And now if you guys haven't seen each other in a while and you were obviously very fond of each other, if you saw him, would you give him a hug?
We'd probably but it'd be more the bro hug, right? Like, can you do like the little handshake, pull close, like one arm around?
You couldn't just give someone a hug. Are you afraid of like your tips touching? Like, what's the problem? You worried?
Well, yeah, exactly. I don't want to start rubbing the big guys together. Swap swords or whatever.
So go hip to hip, man. Not tip.
You got to do a little side. You can't go like full on. You do a little side hug.
Fair.
You can't go
You can't go tip to tip. That's absolutely all right. Fine. You don't want to do that. So go hip to hip. Just give him a little hug because that's your guy.
But you do the bro hug where you grab the hand and then you just put one arm around.
You protected forearm. So you're like, I won't turn gay if I hug you this way.
And then you don't like just hold your hand on his back. You got to give it a little pat so you're showing you're not pulling it right in. Like,
I give hugs, but I give hugs now because I give hugs now because who gives a fuck? Who cares?
Well, I do.
I know you do. And you got to get over it.
I'm not swapping swords.
You get close though. You're changing so many ways. You're evolving.
Yeah,
but
there's some ways it won't trade.
Some ways you're still in the cave.
Yeah. And I revert too. I take one step forward, two steps forward, one step back. Right?
All right. So it's not that's better than the other.
Like the whole feelings thing is a big issue still. Like, and you know the story. I met a woman probably a year ago and said, okay, I'm going to really open up. First conversation, I'm going to tell her my feelings, any problems I have. She's like, oh, that was so refreshing.
All right.
So we dated for a little while, but 2 months later, we get into a little confrontation, and she starts throwing all the things back at me that I told. Yeah. Probably the wrong person. Yeah. But when those things happen, you think, okay, that was not a good idea. Open it up.
In that case, for sure. But I think you definitely have evolved, and you're continuing to evolve, and maybe you'll become a hugger one day. Who knows?
But again, it's not fair to say that I'm not a hugger at all. Like kids, especially
hug women. You'll hug women.
Yes. Yeah. Right. It's good to hug women. Yeah. That's what men and women do, is that physical interaction.
So you're afraid that hugging your male friend might turn you into a gay person?
No fear at all. I just don't think it's a natural thing to be doing on a regular basis. I don't think you should have staged hugging.
Fair enough. All right, so I think this is a debate. If you want to leave your comments here, please do. But this next episode, again, you're going to see a guy who's so good looking, you probably want to hug him, even if you're, question about hugging.
That's, it's probably true. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Great guy, too. Yeah. I haven't seen him in a long time. We had a little chat the other day on the phone. We tried to limit, we talked about this, I try to limit my conversations before the show because it's better to catch up with somebody.
Well, people are gonna like this one. This is going to be a good one. So today we have Sheldon Souray coming on the show.
The spirit of performance is what defines Acura. And now it's electric. Introducing the ZDX, Acura's most powerful SUV yet. Crafted using the same formula that brought them electrified supercars and multiple IMSA championships, the ZDX has track-tested performance that packs an energy all its own. Unlock the energy and order yours at Acura.com.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search. Match. With Indeed. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/match. Just go to Indeed.com/match right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/match. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Tom, these are the best shows because we have a former client who fired you. So I love when we have these. We have a guy who's known as a Rocket. He played for the Devils, Canadiens, among other teams. He's known as one of the best looking guys in hockey. Still has the looks. Today, better than you, Tom. Today we have Sheldon Souray on the show.
Sheldon, good to see you again, brother. How are you?
Great seeing you, buddy. Thanks for having me on.
Is that true? We talked the other day on the phone. It's fun, isn't it? You haven't talked to somebody in a long time and you had a relationship before, and then they'll telling all little stories and everything. So when you were at Tri-Cities, it was you, Damon Lowncow, Brad Boucher, Jerry Ryan, all those guys together, right?
Yeah. That was, I was drafted in 94, so that was probably like 92, 91, 92 maybe, when I kind of...
Yeah, cool. We had Terry Ryan on, and I forgot, I think Brad Boucher was on too. He told us a story about it where Terry Ryan would drive around with the crash test dummy mask on.
And he had a painted car. Like he spray painted this car himself, so it looked like Herbie the Love Bug. He painted the hubcaps, I think, like, I can't remember, blue kind of Tri-City. It was a silver car. He kind of painted it Tri-City American colors. And he's like 15, 16 years old. It was, I guess, a character.
Do you see now? You sit down on Shorzy, all that TV stuff he's doing?
I do, but I've talked to Terry quite a bit. I mean, we became really good friends. Even before Tri-Cities, we were in Quesnel together. He was, I think, 14 or 15. I was 15, so he was 14. And we're playing in this, tough BCJHL hockey league. And TSN had come out and done a big special on him that he was going to be the number one draft pick in, 95. And this is 91. So there was a lot of attention on him. And anyways, we became friends. We played on the same team. We played, in Tri-Cities. And then we shared him being drafted by Montreal and me playing there. So we go back a long way. I keep in touch with him.
Good. What's the proper way to say it? Is it Native Canadian? Is that the proper way to say it?
So it would be Métis is kind of the tribe I'm from. So it would be First Nations would be, you grow up on a reserve. Alberta is the only province that has 7 Métis settlements. So it's basically in between, you still kind of have the rights as Native people. But I grew up on Métis settlements. So that's what it's.
So what's the difference between Métis and Native then?
Well, it's the same. It's just a little less Native than being 100%. You're kind of 50% type thing.
Rich Pilon's also Métis, and Carey Price too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, both those guys. Yep.
And you've become familiar with Rich Pilon, right? You guys talked or?
Well, I haven't talked to him in a long time. I used to do a Native hockey school in Lloydminster. For all the Native kids, Saskatchewan, Alberta, wherever. The instructors were like Chris Simon, Richie Pilon, Gino Ojic, Sandy McCarthy. So we had a character of guys, but I remember being just a really young guy there, and these guys just being the best, just the nicest guy. So I probably got more out of that hockey school than these kids did.
So did you grow up playing on the reservation or in the...
So I moved to Edmonton when I was about 5 or 6. Well, I actually moved to a smaller community called Lac-La-Biche when I think I was about 5. So I have a sister who's 2 years older than me. And my parents seen that there wasn't, going to be a whole lot of opportunity for us, both school-wise and maybe sports-wise. I was a rambunctious kid. So we moved to a community kind of close to Fishing Lake where I grew up. So that was about 5 years old. And then we moved to Edmonton shortly after that. I was 6 or 7, started playing kind of hockey then.
I always got the impression that you're just this natural athlete, like the way you shot the puck. You're a good golfer too, probably, right?
Well, I'm trying to get better. I should be better than I am for playing as much as I do, but I love it. Yeah, I love it.
Do you think, though, like the way you shot the puck, man, I was like, it's like just seemed like you're so natural when you shot the puck.
Buddy, people ask me it all the time, like, how do you shoot so hard? Well, it's like, how do guys skate so fast? How do, you know what I mean? It was just one of those things. Like, I was a big kid. It's funny you said being an athlete. I was a big chunky kid.
Oh, really?
I was a little bit lazy. Growing up, I didn't have a ton of confidence because I wasn't as good as other guys, and so anyways, what could I do when I was a kid? Well, I could shoot a bunch of tennis balls against the garage door. And honestly, I think that's just how it began, and make it into the NHL. I was never going to be, well, before the NHL, I guess when I was kind of in juniors and maybe even in Bantams, I like sticking up for guys. Like I was a big kid and it came natural to me, right? To be able to stick up for people who maybe came a little harder to. And that's kind of where it started. I played with so many kids, and I tell the story a lot. I played with so many guys growing up from like 11 to 14 that when I got drafted or made the NHL, I'm like, how am I here and these guys aren't? Yeah. So.
Is that true? You look back at this, and like, there's a good buddy of mine, this Tom McLeod that I played with, and we were best friends, way better player than me. And he never ended up making it. And I don't know if it was good or bad, but I went back during my career to visit him. He lived outside of Toronto, and it made him feel so bad because I had made it, and like he knew he kind of screwed up and could have made it, and he just didn't do it. But it's weird that you look back, it's like, why us? Like, why are we lucky? I know I could have to do it. So,
well, for me, there was a kid in particular. His name was Albert Warren. He grew up in this town that I was from. He was the most feared player in Pee Wees. I mean, this guy was. He looked like he should be playing in the NHL at like 11 or 12 years old. Right. And you have a kid at 15 years old and you just life, you know what I mean? Like I'm just lucky that these things didn't happen to me along the way because, one bad mistake and it's different.
Yeah. And we do make mistakes, but it's what you do about after, right? Like you're not perfect. I wasn't perfect, but you figure out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Now I got to know your father pretty good. So he passed here recently, right?
He did 2016. Okay. Yep. 2016.
Did you have a good relationship with him?
I did. And what I was just going to say there is he, as a parent myself, I think when you get to that age of 15, 16, and, I haven't had a boy before, but I have 2 girls that age, have been that age. And it's hard for a parent to let go and let you go. I moved away when I was 15 years old to play with men, like men. Guys who were legal drinking age, guys who had kids. I mean, it's a big leap of faith your parents are taking. And what I was going to say about you, Tommy, is you were my first agent. My dad had a tremendous amount of respect for you. You played in the NHL. He knew your name, and he knew I was in good hands. So, I had a good relationship with him, and thankfully you did too.
Yeah,
that means everything. Yeah,
there we go. How about your mother? Is she still around?
She's still around. She's still on Fishing Lake. Yeah. I've told her for probably the last 15 years, we'll get you a place in Arizona, or we'll get you a place somewhere where it's going to be nice and warm. And that's her home. Fishing Lake is her home. The cold winters are where she's, I guess, the most comfortable. So I quit asking, but I love it when she comes to visit. And now, we have a 3-4-month-old baby at home. And so she's finding more reasons to come in now than she has before. COVID was a weird time, right? Because I hadn't seen her for a few years. And, so now that we're back to normal, it's good seeing her. Mom's always going to be mom.
Yeah, that's true. That's good, isn't it? So are you in Vegas? Is that where you live?
I'm in Vegas now. Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Nice.
When I retired, I had a couple of years left on my contract. I guess that was 12, 13 or 13, 14, somewhere in there. And so I moved to Vegas for the last couple of years. I was still getting paid for 2 years. I was living in Malibu, but I had my place rented out. So anyway, a lot of circumstances that brought me to Vegas. And then I moved back to LA from 2017 to 19 and then settled back here kind of permanently since then. Been home.
Hey, Tom, can we go back? So Sheldon, your parents thought you were in good hands with Tom. So why'd you fire him?
Because they thought I was.
Yeah, really.
Seen other guys, they seen other guys making money, and they're like, what's going on?
I thought you were doing it for free. Yeah, doing it for the love of the game.
Tom had bigger fish to fry, and I thought I was a bigger deal than I was, and just wasn't a marriage made in heaven. But it's funny, right? And Tom knows this better than anyone. You get into this world all of a sudden where you're, in the eye a little bit, and you're getting a little attention, and everyone's telling you what you want to hear. Everyone's telling you what they can get you and what you're worth and what you should be getting. And I would do this. What do I know? You just kind of listen and you believe it. And again, you make some mistakes. Looking back, I mean, I wish I made all the right decisions, but it wasn't for anything Tom did. He really had my back, and that's why when I got the message from you a couple of weeks ago, man, it lit my heart up. So.
Yeah, that's cool. You know what? It's funny because we joke around. Brian Boucher moved on to another agent. Damon Loudkel moved on to another agent. But you know what? Though we get back together now, seeing who you, it's like, oh, we're not thinking about that. We're thinking about the great times we had together, right? That went pretty cool. This is a great relationship. Yeah.
Oh, well, a little bit. You're a little bit sad though, because you were a little bit sad before the show. You're like, why did he fire me? Another guy.
Hey, well, he got me a contract. I'll tell you what. That's farther than a lot of guys get. Right. It's one thing to get drafted. It's one thing to go to a training camp and all this, but it's another thing to I didn't have two nickels. My family didn't have two nickels to rub together when I grew up. And all of a sudden, you're making some money, and that whoever does that for you deserves a lot of credit. And that was Tom in my life. So
you're a good man. You're a good man.
Good seeing your face, buddy.
What were you, like, third round pick? Is that what you were?
Third round pick. Yeah. That's why I fired him, Tom.
Exactly.
Should have been a first round.
What do I mean?
That's funny. I remember, it was before you, but I remember getting a high draft picks as an agent. I think I was more competitive as an agent. I talked to John Davidson a lot. I remember him that did the broadcasting. Absolutely. And he was one of the best at doing broadcasting. And he said to me, he says, listen, I was very proud of my career. I don't think I got everything out of it. I don't want to do that again in my next career. So I really took that approach with the agent business. So you guys meant a lot to me, and obviously as people, but it's also you guys were competitors. It's interesting. I thought you would have gone higher, and maybe I didn't do a good enough job. I thought you would get higher in the draft, though.
So the year that I played a half a year in Tri-Cities when I was 16. I took a slap shot in the face right before I went to training camp when I was 16 and busted up my face pretty good, had some surgeries. And so as a 16-year-old, I wasn't going back and fitting right in the lineup in Tri-Cities. Bob McCammon was the coach.
Oh, yeah.
And he said it was going to be hard for me, right, to get in there. We had a pretty good team. And so I went back to junior A in Fort Saskatchewan that year. I lived with my mom, and I played as a 16-year-old, had a pretty good year that year, made some noise with my toughness. And when I was 17, now I'm playing in Tri-Cities and I'm having a good year. Now, Damon Lankow and Terry Ryan are on that team. So we're getting lots of attention. Boucher, right? Brian Boucher.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of really good prospects. And I got in a fight that year around January with one of my best buddies, Brad Myers, because he got traded over from Lethbridge to Spokane. And I remember sitting in the room, I'm 17, and we had a tough team. And all our tough guys were sitting there going, hey, boys, just let this guy sleep. We don't want to wake him up. And I'm looking around, and the coach comes in. He announces the starting lineup, and I'm on it. And I just stood up, and I said, okay, boys, I got this. So we don't fought him.
Oh, and you were buddies before that?
We were best buddy. He's still one of my best friends. He's helped me a lot in my life, but I broke my leg that year anyway. I think I played 40 games. So even that I got drafted was kind of surprising to me.
So you drafted as an 18-year-old, and did you go to camp right after you got drafted?
Yep, 94. Drafted in June 94, training camp in 94, had a great training camp. And then if you remember, there was the lockout.
Yeah.
There was the lockout. So I stayed with the team right up until the lockout. And then I went back, and then I signed a contract right after that training camp. So for me, it was a big success, but I didn't know what, lockouts meant and whatever. It didn't mean anything to me.
Sheldon, for our Jersey listeners, of which there are many, were you in Totowa or were you guys in South Mountain at the time?
South Mountain.
Okay, so that's the practice facility. Well, it used to be the practice facility for the Devils' time.
Yeah, and man, I have so many stories about it. It just, Lou is, and Tom knows, he is, he's your dad, he's your big brother, he's the disciplinarian, he's your principal, he's everything all in one. And when I got drafted, he said, well, we're going to keep an eye on you. So right across from South Mountain, we had this little hotel called the Turtlebrook Inn.
Yeah.
So I lived in that hotel until 97 or 98 when I got traded. I actually had bought a townhome about a month before I got traded. But I lived in that hotel, and I tell you, I'd come home late some nights, and the next morning I'd be called up to Lou's office. I'm like, how the fuck did that guy know I was out last night? He had his little spies everywhere. It's like, your room with your fancy little stereo. And I'm like, how is this guy, But thank God I had him as thank God I grew up in that organization because, you grew up with not only the players, right? Scotty Stevens and Kenny Danico and Marty Brodeur and Meter, but that organization demands a certain amount of professionalism. And man, I wish I made all the right choices and learned that a little earlier, but I'm looking back on it. I'm so grateful that I had to start in an organization like that.
So you're this good looking kid, 18, 19, 20 years old. You're not too far from the city. You got some money in your pocket now. I'm sure you met a few women along the way.
Yeah, we met a lot of people along the way. He's
definitely, hold on. I just be careful. I put him in a tough spot. He's married now and everything. So
look, my life is my life. It's been an open book. I remember getting called into Lou's office, having all these things. Because at the time, the Rangers had a really good, right? They had Mess and they had like a veteran team, right? And then we had a pretty veteran team. And so all these opportunities that were coming up to do, I don't know, GQ magazine or a photo spread here and there. Well, the Rangers didn't want to do it because they had older guys, so they didn't care. The Devils, we had older guys, so they didn't care. So I was getting a lot of opportunities off the ice.
Right.
And being from Fishing Lake, a native community of 275 people, having the chance to go and be on The Young and the Restless, I'm in.
Oh, yeah.
But I
didn't want that. You were on Young and the Restless?
We were on that one.
I didn't realize that. Oh, very cool.
Let's see, Tommy.
That's why he's such a good agent.
Well, exactly.
Couldn't remember.
Yeah. I loved it. I loved everything about it. It's, man, yeah. When I look back on those times, it's like, I just thought, and I hate saying this, and I tell my kids this all the time, right? It's like, I hate saying when I was your age, but I look back on those times with like, holy crap, I was living that life, and pretty cool.
Isn't it true? And you look back at some of the mistakes, for me anyways, I honestly at the time was thinking I was doing the right thing. Now you look back at it now and you go, how could you possibly think that was the right thing to be doing?
Totally. But, you give any kid, it's changed now, and probably my era changed from your era as well. But, back then if you made a mistake, it was kind of like the whole world wasn't seeing it. I think it's a little different for guys now, where everyone sees it and you really have to be careful with what you do. That wasn't the case when, as long as you didn't kill anybody, it was kind of like smarten up. And so I'm glad I grew up in that era and not today's, because I think it's hard for people today.
Yeah. Poor guys today, if they go out and have some fun now, like it's hard to do it. Oh, yeah. But after you got done playing, what'd you do right away?
I didn't do anything. I settled into, I thought that, I deserved some time off. I put in a long shift with, being dedicated to playing. And when I retired, I just felt really a sense of like relief. So I didn't do anything except things that I probably shouldn't have been doing. Right. I ended with an injury. So I started liking that escapism, that I had an excuse to kind of, not make the best decisions, right? And so I didn't do a whole lot. I didn't go out on my own terms, and so something again that I thought was that I really wanted, looking back, was like something that I didn't mourn, I didn't grieve losing my career. I just never, I thought my whole life has been structure. My whole life has been coaching, like turn your brain off and just listen to the instructions, right? And so all of a sudden I have all this time to make decisions and I'm still making money. And that's a slippery slope. It was for me anyways.
Now, were you married at the time with kids or?
No, I wasn't married. I was in a relationship. I did have kids. My kids were, oh God, at that time they were, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then, the younger one was 3 or 4 years younger than that. So I had young kids and I really tried to dedicate time to being a dad, the best that I could. Looking back, I didn't do a great job of it, but, again, man, these are all lessons. Like I'm just so grateful for where I am now, because it could have looked a lot different for me from the time I started playing. If I just think of my professional career, from the time that I was drafted to the time I retired, I'm lucky that I had that career. Like some of the things that I was doing, some of the, choices I was making. And you said it the best, man. Like I didn't think I was hurting anyone. I didn't think that I was even making necessarily the wrong choice.
Tom, our producer.
Yeah.
So we did a few shows. We've done about 100 already. What show are we at? 99?
99. Yep.
99. So after about 20 shows, Tom says to me, man, you guys are screwed up. He used other words, but like, because some of the stories, like, you were Richie Pilon, attempting suicide, what he went through.
I think, though, Sheldon made a great point, though, and I think we need to talk about that more, is that there's actually a grieving process that has to take place, because this thing that you've done your whole life ends, and you're a new person, whether you like it or not, and you're a real person, like you said, structure and schedules, and that's gone. And then you have to make this change that is the thrust of this show. It's like, what happens to you now? And you, in your case, you were getting paid for 2 years, you said, right, Sheldon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was.
You got 2 years of idle time and money.
And, the other thing that happens when you're playing, and Tommy knows this better than anyone, is you have someone handling all your stuff, right? Your financial stuff, handling travel for your family, It just goes on. So you're just like, here's my credit card. Yeah. That's how my life works. It's like, here's my credit card, and take care of it. I don't want any distractions, whatever. And me and Tom talked about this for a second. It's like the day that they said, hey, you're going to have this surgery and your career's over, that's the last time I talked to anybody. Yeah. It wasn't like, hey, come back to the rink, hey, be around the guys, hey, it's just the music stops. Yeah. It just stops. And so it's like, now I'm, 38 years old, and everything I've ever done my whole life since I can remember is gone. It stopped. And now it's like, oh, wow, yeah, I'll really like just having nothing to do. Well, you're 38 years old. Like, people are just getting their careers going.
Yeah.
And yours is like, it just a dead stop. And again, I thought I'd really like that. And man, was I ever wrong? It took some work with some professionals to work through that and go, hey man, when I lost my dad, I knew I had grief. I knew I had to deal with that. And I remember this therapist saying, I know you wrote a letter to your dad about, grieving, but have you ever done that to your career? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I was so happy my career was over. Really, let's talk a little bit more about that. So it took some work to get to the thing where, oh man, like this is something that I love, that I've done my whole life. It was my dream growing up. And then it just ends. And it was my ego going, who needs that anyways? I'm good. Right. So it just took a little bit to get that, and just really start a whole new life, to be honest with you.
Had you always been able to talk about your feelings, which is a tough thing for a lot of men to do?
Buddy, no chance. I only got to that point when I was in recovery, and I say it all the time, because there's a lot of guys, who are in recovery with me. Can you imagine, we're playing the Bruins one night, Montreal, or the Leafs on a Saturday night, hockey night in Canada, and Ty Domi and Chris King are out there, and Wade Belak. And I come in and I tell my teammates, hey, Hammer, how are you feeling? little sad today, boys. Feeling just a little sad. They'd be like, what?
Yeah, I know.
Buddy, pull your jock strap up. There's no time to be sad. We got a big game tonight. So you just learn to like, everything just gets shut down.
You suppress everything.
You just suppress everything, and then you put on this, suit of armor, like you got everything handled. And, just, it is what it is. It's not a complaint. It's just,
we don't think we concern ourselves probably more than others about what other people think of us, right? Like all the fans, everybody else. When you think of someone, like for me, when I quit playing, I've talked about many times, got the agent business, I quit drinking for 5 years. And one of my greatest concerns was, which is stupid looking back at now, like, what are people going to think of me if I'm not drinking? I mean, like, why was I thinking that way? But that's just, it was ingrained in our brains that's, I guess that's why we're getting paid, because other people are judging us all the time. How good are we at the players, and all that stuff. So it is strange thing about now. And I'm probably not as good at it as you are, because I preach it to other people all the time that they should be talking about their feelings, but then sometimes I don't do it as much as I should either. I'm getting better at it, but still a long way to go.
Well, it's a if you put $10 million in the middle of the room and ask me to speak German, I couldn't do it. Like, I just couldn't do it. It takes, I got to learn a word, and then I got to learn a sentence. And it's kind of the same thing with me in recovery anyways. It's like when I had to go and get sober, I thought my life was over. It was like, I can never have another drink at a Super Bowl party. I can never have another drink at a birthday party.
Weddings.
No more Christmases, weddings. Oh my God. They just shoot me right now.
Yep.
So now I had to learn skills again I didn't have to, how it was told to me. And, I think hockey works the same way is, well, let's just worry about this Super Bowl. Let's not worry about the one after. Let's just worry about this Super Bowl. And if we get through that, then we're going to worry about Christmas. If we get through that, then we'll worry about the birthday. And that's kind of how my recoveries worked. And it's, I say it all the time in AA that I'm in is I used to hate all the slogans, right? When we walk in, like, no I in team and whatever, all these things. And I walk by them every day. Give me a break. Well, AA was the same way when I got in there. One day at a time. And I'm like, oh my God, more corny sayings that have become my mantra that I live by. You know what I mean? It's like, it just shows me I don't know anything.
So have you ever stopped and looked back at yourself before you went in and got help and how you are now?
What do you mean?
Well, the way you speak and talking about being able to talk about your feelings and one day at a time and all those things. Like, you weren't at all like that before, right?
No. I was completely different. I was very entitled. I had to be. See, here's the thing, right? Everything that served me in my life as a professional athlete were all the things that don't serve me in real life. Ego, being a pop, being a little more like, oh, you're mad at me? Watch this. Because I can wait till you see me get mad, and I'm going to show you. And all that stuff was like, that's fine. And once my career ended and I had to get in recovery, it's like all these things that I thought were making me a man were the things that were, slowly pulling the rug out from under me.
Well, they're just making you a hockey player, not a man. You're a steamroller.
Not a human being, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's what do you call me, Tom? What is it?
You're like a steamroller. Yeah, you just plow through everything. Well,
yeah, exactly.
Not so much now. Now you're definitely more of a well-rounded human.
I'm getting better. Well, this has really helped. Doing these shows has really helped me a lot, Sheldon, because all these conversations like I had with you, I did not plan on having these conversations. I thought we were going to start the show. We talk about hockey as a kid, hockey while you're playing, what are you doing after? And it's really more evolved into the stuff that we're talking about today, like the stuff like as much as, and people will always say the same thing. Pretty much every player now, once they go up, they'll say, listen, there's no complaining. Our careers are fantastic. It was a dream come true, but it does screw you up for later on in life, right? Now, like you mentioned before, now you started your life at 38 years old, go from thinking that everybody loves you, thinks you're the greatest guy in the world, and you realize, I'm really not. I'm just as screwed up as everybody else.
Right. But with a massive sense of entitlement.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, I felt like I deserve this. Like, I'm retired, but hey, look at the house, look at the cars, look at the good looking girl on my arm. Like, I got it made. So lay off me, go worry about someone else. And it just my thinking was all screwed up. And I don't say that as like, like I recognize that my life had to burn down a little bit before, I could make that change. But, I'm glad I did. I'm glad someone cared about me enough to say, hey, bro.
Did you decide to go get help or somebody else took you?
I did. I knew that so what happened for me was I really got into the pills after I retired. And the reason I got into the pills is I grew up in an alcoholic home. I grew up around alcoholics. I seen the way they acted. I seen the loudness at the parties. I never wanted to be like that. I knew I never wanted to be like that. So when I retired and I was taking pills, I was still able to function. So people couldn't see me with slurred words or, whatever. I just was kind of loosey-goosey and kind of happy and just kind of content. Well, that's how it started. And it just, my life was burning down. I knew I wanted to quit. I knew that, I was doing things the wrong way. I couldn't. I didn't know how. My ego was still too big to ask for help. Hey, man, how you doing? I'm good. Worry about yourself, Yeah. And it wasn't until a couple things happened where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to rehab to get the heat off. I wasn't really necessarily thinking I'm gonna be sober for the rest of my life. I was just like, I'll go do this. I'll get the heat off me. Everyone's gonna be, so proud of me. And so that's kind of how I made that step. It wasn't with my heart, leading with my heart going, I really need to get better.
So was it more the other people around you were saying like, Sheldon, you got a problem, you need to fix something here?
Yeah. And I knew it too. And I was in a relationship with someone and, there was problems and I just, what's the, if you don't recognize there's a problem, there's no problem, and that's kind of how I was living.
And then you ultimately met your now wife in therapy, correct?
Yeah, in rehab. Yes, I know. It's the number one thing they say not to do, and here we are.
Is that right? Do they say that?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, because you're in here at the rock bottom, trying to work on yourself to get better, and now you're attaching yourself to someone else. Which it's a long story. It didn't happen like that. I was still in a relationship. We were on different tracks in rehab, and I went back to rehab about 9 months after my first one because I'd relapsed after about 6 months. Wasn't doing any work. People weren't telling me they were proud of me anymore. I felt like I deserved more. Well, screw this. If people aren't going to recognize what a great job I'm doing and that my life is, it should be getting really big and full, I might as well go out, And so I did that and almost killed myself. And when I came out of that rehab, my second one, we had lost 4 or 5 people, young people from my first rehab. And so my wife now, Tess, and I had bonded over that. And when I got her that, my second rehab, she had maintained her sobriety. And she said, we're going to meetings. We're going to do some work and I'm going to be there with you. I'm going to go to these meetings. And it was the first time that I was like, okay, cool. I got someone to hang out with. She's going to keep me a little bit accountable. And so it just really started like that she's just started encouraging me to, do some work and really try to get better.
See, that's pretty cool, right? Because I don't know her at all, but she could have walked away, right? She fixed herself, and you were doing the same things all over again, but she stuck with you. Not just stuck with you, but helped you through your problems.
Totally. The support, it's like, when someone sees you at your worst and still isn't leaving, I was good at that. I was good at pushing people away. Oh man, you're doing bad. You should get help. It's like, bad. You haven't even seen bad yet. Watch this. Like that's how I was operating. Like that's how I was operating. And so when I also knew that when I got sober and I had relapsed, I seen the disappointment in her face and saying, she's upset. She said, I didn't sign up for this. It wasn't like it was the first time in my life, and I have kids, right? Two girls at the time. It was the first time in my life that I looked at her after I'd screwed up and I seen the pain that I was causing someone else, and it hit me. I don't know what happened, but I just think God touched my heart somehow and said, okay, this is it. And I knew that I didn't want to disappoint anybody again, especially someone that I cared about.
Do you think that was the first time somebody really loved you? Not the Sheldon Souray, the hockey player?
Yeah, I think so. It was the first time I felt like that, besides my parents, Your parents kind of have to love you because you're their kid. Yep. Your kids kind of have to love you because you're their dad or, mom. But for another human being who has nothing in it to help you when you're struggling, was the first time that I felt like, oh man, this is different. She's not doing this because I'm going to go play for the Anaheim Ducks again. It's like she wanted me to get better, and she was doing the work, right? So I had someone who was doing the work encouraging me to do the work. And it just resonated with me somehow, A lot of things happen on that way. Like I felt like my dad was speaking to me in different ways. I just feel like there was a lot of things that were happening in the universe that were too coincidental to be like, this is my own doing. And that's just how I felt and how I feel still to this day.
Did you ever worry? I mean, obviously you're saying now that she stuck with you, but did you ever say sometimes that she's not going to stay around? She's gone through her problems. She's fixed herself, and now I'm messed up again. You knew she would stay.
If I did what I said I was going to do, we had such a great relationship. I just, I felt like, if I could do what I say I was going to do, it would be fine. And I seen her life getting better. And I seen when I started being in AA and going, when I first went to AA, I started looking around the room and going, that guy's a bum. That guy doesn't know what kind of car I drive. That guy's got a terrible life. That guy's old. That lady who's speaking I don't resonate. Like if this is AA, I might as well go get drunk right now. And that's now, I find a similarity in those things and not the differences. And, I seen other people's lives getting better, and I wanted that, however that looked.
So how many years did you ultimately play in the NHL?
I think it was about 16, throw a couple lockouts in there, altogether. My first year I think was 97, and my last year was 13 and something like that. Yeah.
And how many years in New Jersey?
I was in New Jersey for 2.5, 97, 98, 99, 2000, got traded at just before the deadline in 2000.
But Tom, let me back up a sec, because I just wanted to go back to a point you guys both made, for you and for Sheldon. But Sheldon, you said pretty powerfully that was the first time someone loved you for you, aside from your parents and your family. It's got to be a mind fuck for you guys trusting people, right? I mean, It has to. How do you know that you can trust someone in your life and your career, or not hockey people?
To be honest with you, I still have a problem with that.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so amazed. I'd love to meet your wife, because that's why I was so amazed that you felt like that. That was, because that's tough.
Yeah. I mean, you have, and that's a good question, Tom. Because you have all these people telling you things, but they want something, right? You have a guy managing your money because he's going to get something off it. You sign a new contract, and now you have 3 new guys calling you, and now you're, sort of a big deal, right? So it's hard, it's hard. And my whole identity, my whole life was a hockey player. So it's like, well, how could she love me when I'm not even playing hockey? Like, and so that's a good question.
It is, Tom. You know what? We joke around about it too. Like I've learned in my life is a constant making mistakes and then just plowing through, like Tom says.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think sometimes if I realize in a relationship, okay, I'm going to make mistakes here, and she's just going to leave. So I just make the mistakes anyways. It's like you don't maybe put the effort in. Yeah, I don't maybe put the effort in to not make the mistakes, at least in my relationship. It's just like,
it's self-fulfilling prophecy, and giving yourself an out,
right?
Yeah.
So, well, what I see now is like, I make a mistake and I apologize, and how can I make it better? It's not like I make a mistake and then get defensive. Now I make another mistake, and now we're in a fight, right? And now I'm not going to talk to you for 2 days because I can hold a grudge better than anybody else. Now it's like, hey man, I'm sorry, you're right. I shouldn't have done that. Won't happen again. What can I do? and then it's over. Like, it's my life with my wife and my daughters it's so simple. It's just so simple. I just kind of got back to the basics of like kindness, humility, gratitude, just all these things that like, it shouldn't be hard, right? It shouldn't be hard. Just like I was a player, you know, Jacques Lemaire wasn't ever telling me to throw a saucer pass up the middle. He's like, when you get it off your stick up, you know, thump off the glass and out. And that's kind of how my life is. I got to keep it simple, and just seems to work out. Nothing flashy, no highs, no lows, just kind of keep it right there.
How old are your daughters now?
My oldest is 20. She'll be 21 in September. My youngest on Saturday turned 17. 2 girls.
Now, are they with you?
My oldest is here now. My youngest, they live in LA, but they love coming to Vegas.
Nice.
They love my wife. They absolutely adore my wife.
That's fantastic. That's excellent.
Yeah. So, like I said, my world is big, and it's not because I have bigger cars or bigger houses. It's big because my relationships are better.
Isn't it amazing? When you're playing in the NHL, you think this is just the best time of the whole world, right? This is fantastic. And then all the stuff you've been through and now the life you got going, you realize this hockey was great, but this life's a lot better than that life, right? Yeah.
Totally.
So you're doing an interesting, you're working with Wayne Gretzky now too, I understand.
Well, Wayne got me up to Gaza. So what I do for work is I'm an ambassador for a place called Discovery Land Company. We have a bunch of high-end private golf courses and communities. We're a real estate company. And I became a member at Gaza Ranch up in Idaho in 2010 because Gretz told me about it. He said, "Oh, you got to come check out this place." He was there, 2007 or something. And I said, "Wayne, this is my idol, right? I grew up in Edmonton, so Wayne Gretzky to me is like, my idol." I said, "Wayne, I never heard of that place, and I played in Tri-Cities, which is 3 hours away, and I lived in Alberta, and I never heard of it, and it's too close to Alberta. It can't be that nice." Right. It's like, okay. So when I finally went up to visit, I knew that was home. I knew that simple lake, the simplicity of it before I even, it's magical how it happened because there was something that attracted me to it. And now that's always, I've moved around like you've moved around and this has always kind of been home base for me. So I thank Gretz for that. Gretz is,
isn't he good?
I'll say this is he knows where I lost my dad. I took it hard. It was on Father's Day, 2016. And my addiction really went like now it gave me an excuse, right? Now it gave me an excuse. And he was worried about me. He had guys call me and all this. But when I got married in 2021 to Tess, Gretz was there. A lot of my best friends were there, Chelly and Holly. And anyways, my mom couldn't make it because COVID was still going on. And leaving from Canada was just such a mess. Yeah. It would have been a long travel day for her to get up to Idaho. If she drove, it would have been 14 hours. If she flew, it would have been 20. Right. And so anyways, we get to the wedding and the reception and Tess's dad got up and said a few words and, the mom sits up beautiful and Gretz stands up and he says, "Can I say something?"
Oh, so this wasn't scheduled. He just got up on his own?
Oh yeah. He just got up and I was like, the 11, 12, 13-year-old me with Gretzky speaking at my wedding. And the first thing he says, your dad, Richard, will be proud of you.
Oh man.
And I kept it together, but it was one of the most, coolest things that has ever happened because that's Wayne Gretzky as a human, right? And Tom, you played with him. That's Wayne Gretzky as a human. Forget about what he's done. That's just the awareness and kindness that man has. So he's still my idol.
You know what? We've talked about this before. He really understands how he affects people, right? Like his words, the things, his actions and everything. How did you meet him?
I met him down in Malibu. Chelly and I, Chris Chelios, became pretty good buddies. When I got divorced in LA in 2007-ish, he said, "Why don't you move up to Malibu?" So I did. Started training with him because my career was still kind of in full flight. He was still playing. And he won the cup with Detroit. I think that was 2007, 8, 9, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I kind of met Gretz was at Chelly's cup party.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gretz is a very dedicated man, so I don't want to paint the wrong picture, but he's one of the best beer drinkers who's ever played too. Gretzky pound the beers.
A great one. He's the great one.
Well, I first played with him, everybody drank beer back then, right? So it wasn't a big deal. But we went out at training camp a couple times, and he could. And you know what the best thing about him too? When he went to practice the next day, it did not matter. He was the hardest worker, laughing and joking and having a blast.
Oh man, he's you know what he is he's the kind of guy he could drink all day, drink all night. It doesn't matter, but he has the awareness of people. He's the great one, right? And I've seen some guys who are celebrities and they have a certain arrogance about them. And Wayne is the same all the time. And he really supported me through my journey, and through sobriety. So I got so much love for that man as a human being and how he's kind of, helped me stay on track in recovery.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Awesome. And he might not even know that, he might not, because he just sees me. I golf with him every day in the summer. And it's, I will tell you another story about Gretz. So my dad, was a huge hockey fan, obviously. And we had Russ Cordnell, Rusty. Yeah. He had this dinner in LA one time. It was a Christmas thing, and he invited me. So I go. My dad comes. I was living in LA, and we have dinner or lunch, and my dad gets a picture with Gretz. We're driving home, and it's about a 20-minute car ride, and it's kind of quiet. I'm driving. And this is 2011 or 12, something like that. And my dad leans over. Now, my dad was a truck driver, right? Alcoholic. And I got another story about that. But I never seen my dad be emotional ever, ever. And he leans over. I'm driving. He puts his hand on my knee and he says, "Son, this is the greatest day of my life."
Oh, wow.
And I looked at him, and meanwhile, I'd played in some all-star games. I had, I felt like I had accomplished some things, and he was like, this today made it all worth it. And that's the impact that Wayne has, right? That's the impact he has.
I think I told you the story. So Wayne's first year in LA, I believe it was in Hull, was our training camp. So Rogie Vachon was a GM, great guy, really quiet, meek and mild guy. And so, first year training camp, you go and you do the physicals in the morning, and then you got some time off in the afternoon. You come back for a team meeting, which Rogie was going to lead up this team meeting. So we got a veteran team: Larry Robinson, Dave Taylor, John Tonelli, myself, all these old Wayne, obviously. So we all decided to go to the strip joint in Hull. And so we go to the private room, take the girls' panties off and put them up over the camera so nobody can see what's going on. So now all the girls in the place are in this room, and the whole team's there. And we're drinking beer. And Timmy Waters and I were teammates, and we're kind of the lesser guys. We're not Hall of Fame guys like everybody else. And we're sitting there for a couple of hours having beers, and we're thinking, now we're going to go back to this meeting. And most of the guys, they're feeling pretty good at this point. So I turned to Timmy. I said, "Should we be doing this?" Because we're with Wayne. We can do anything we want to do. So when I say that, I mean, like, Wayne was the full package when it came to be a team player. If the team was doing it, Wayne was doing it, right? He didn't separate himself from the difference. So very cool. That's a good story about your dad too, by the way.
He's the best. My dad, so my dad died, but he had 21 years sober. So in 94, when I got drafted, right before the draft, we're flying to Hartford, and my dad had, he had been an alcoholic his whole life. He comes from a long line of them. And he says, let's go for lunch today. And I thought, when I was 18, I didn't have a lot of time for my dad, right? It's like, "Dad, I don't need you anymore. I'm a man now," type thing. And he said, "I quit drinking." I'd heard that one before, and I said, "Yeah, okay." He said, "If you're going to play in the NHL, you don't need a drunk dad around." And I said, "Okay." And that was the last time my dad ever had a drink. So, when I was in New Jersey, when I got traded in 2000, the Devils won the Cup that year. And when they came back to Jersey, I was still living in that condo I told you about, and I had to sell it. I only lived in it for about a month. And I lived with Brendan Morrison and Jay Pandolfo and Jason Arnett, Scotty Gomez. Anyways, they brought the Cup back from Dallas. They won in Dallas. And my dad was visiting me. So we went and did the Letterman show with these guys. So my dad got to, even though I didn't win it, my dad got to, experience all that. He did it all sober. Lyle O'Dwine, we would be at the bar, and my dad would come pick us up and, drive us home. Man, he did a lot of things, but he he didn't go to meetings or anything like that, but I couldn't understand how, you know, he was coming out to the bar with us and everyone's having a good time and shots and girls and this and that. And my dad just sat there and he drank waters and he smiled and he'd give me a ride home. And I think, well, he's not having any fun. And those are the best days of his life, I'm sure.
Isn't it amazing that he loved you that much? Like his whole life being an alcoholic, and he stopped because of you. That's an incredible story.
It's powerful. I mean,
I'm getting tears in my eye. I'm actually getting tears in my eyes right now. That's a dad loving his son right there. Very good.
Yeah. Even though, you know, I credit, like I said, I have a feeling that my dad has had a lot of control of my life. He's made things happen for me in sobriety, because I really struggled. Like when he passed away, I think one of the things that was killing him is the way I was living my life, right? Because my dad was sober. I never had the chance to, you know, he passed away and I wasn't sober. I think now though, like I thank God every day. I see my son now. I got a 4-month-old baby at home, and like I see a lot of my dad in him, and it's, you know, it's God doing things that I couldn't do for myself. And I believe that, you know, I have a lot of someone's looking out for me, because the guy where I'm from and what I've done and what I was doing shouldn't even be here. And so, you know, I try to keep that perspective of like, you know, why me, right? Why have I been saved when I told you I got out of this rehab and we had 20-year-old kids passing away in front of their parents? Like, why me? Why was I spared for this? And I believe my answer is to recover loudly.
So this is a tough question. We talked about this on the phone the other day. So you're friends with Chris Simon, and obviously we lost him recently. He took his own life. Had you ever thought about you hurting yourself?
No, not to that. But I'm a pussy, so I wasn't like I'm going to kill myself. I still had a lot of things that were good in my life. I still had money, you know. I still had my kids. But there was a lot of times I was just so careless that I didn't care if I woke up. And I was just like, oh, man, if I don't wake up, maybe it's, you know, maybe it'd be a relief for everybody. Maybe it'd be a relief for me. So I had that perspective, but not of really hurting myself. You know, I still have kids. I still had a mom. And I think we talked about this the other day, right? It's like you come into my community, my native community, there's a wooden sign there, home of NHL player Sheldon Souray. Right. And my mom works for child services for the government, and everywhere she goes, oh, you know, when especially I played for the Oilers, oh, your son this, your son that, you must be so proud. And I look back and I think, like, if I would have passed away, instead of having a story of like where I am now and what my life looks like, you know, it would have been, I was a drug addict. And I overdosed, and my mom to carry that around with her, or my kids to carry that around with them. I didn't really see it then, but I knew I didn't want to do that to them or to myself. But it's only by the grace of God. It really is. And I fully believe that.
Well, Mr. Souray, you have come a long way since I first met you. You're quite the human being now. Not that you weren't a great human being before, but man, the journey you've been on and the stories you tell about your dad and how he's affected your life, the sacrifices, quitting drinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like the point where it all turned around was when he got rid of that first agent. Just listening to the show.
Yeah, it was a real. I got a lot of clarity. Yeah, I got a lot of clarity.
Got a lot of brain damage from when I dealt with you.
But if you don't have a guy like Tom Laidlaw or Mike Barnett, you know, going to bat for you. And, you know, Paul Theophanous has been my agent forever. If you don't have a guy like Tom going to bat for you, there's no Sheldon Souray or there's no Damon Lankow, because it's a next mentality, right? It's like, well, if it's not this guy, it's going to be that guy. So if you don't have a guy stepping up and really, you know, in your corner, I don't think you stand a chance. So Tom, you were that guy when I first got started.
You know, it's fun, like being a player. And then when I first got in the agent business, I really didn't know what I was going to encounter, like the relationships part of it. Like I knew, okay, you have to know the CBA, negotiate contracts, all that kind of stuff. But I didn't anticipate the relationships and the things that guys went through. I mean, I was fortunate, terrible story, but I represented Sheldon Kennedy. He came forward with his sexual abuse stuff. I never would have guessed that I was going to be involved in that kind of story. I never would have been guessed that I'd have this conversation that I'm having with you today, the stuff that you've been through and who you are now. So you should be very proud of yourself. And I know your father and Wayne said it too, but he'll be very proud of you too. So good job.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It's again, it's just a blessing I look back and people talk about hockey. I'm in Vegas. You watch the games. Like I didn't when I first retired, right? I completely disconnected. And I'm glad I'm at a point now where, I'm happy for the guys in Vegas so I can take my kids to a game.
Yeah.
Life is funny.
It is good. It's a great life now. Great life. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Souray, for coming on our show. It's great to see you again. We'll have you on again too.
Yeah, I love it. Thanks, man. And thank you guys for having me on. Tom, thanks for having me on. Always good to see you. Thanks for reaching out, Tommy. I mean, that was...
Yes.
I told you, I think about you often because you were a big part of my life when I was a kid. And so thank you for all that you do. And I'm glad you're doing good, man. You're a TV star, and here you are just, humbly interviewing an old has-been.
Humble? Wait, what's humble about Tom? You see those videos on Instagram?
Oh, God. I've got worse. You know what I've learned, Sheldon, too? And I think you're the same way. Just screw it. They asked me to dance with this Dancing Larry at Madison Square Garden a couple years ago, and I can't dance at all. So I'm dancing in front of 18,000 people, and I'm like the full sweat going away. I never would have done that before. I just learned to say, let it go.
Stop giving a fuck.
Ego.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's just your ego, And it again, something that's you think serves you so good in a profession is like the downfall in real life. So I'm glad we learned that lesson.
Okay. Great to see you, brother. We'll have you on again. Thank you very much.
Awesome, boys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sheldon. Tom, there's another one. Another emotional episode, another powerful one. Had tears in your eyes again. We talked about emotions, and you let yours go a little bit, and that's good.
Don't you notice, though, too, the difference between our first shows and the shows now? Like, it's more, like, especially with a story like Sheldon, knowing what he'd been through.
Yeah.
It's great to talk about the hockey, but that's secondary.
It's a million times better because, yes, anybody can look up on HockeyDB or Hockey Reference and see their stats and whatever, but we're hearing stories. We're hearing their life stories, and I just really think it's so much. It's evolved into such a good show right now. Different show than when we started, but it's such a good show, and it's powerful. That was very powerful what he said.
Yeah.
And one thing,
he was deep. That was like
he was
cool
deep,
stuff.
and so was Dave Scatcherd, and so was, all these shows.
Kevin Klein was
really great. Like these guys, even Richie Pilon early on, and Clint Malarchuk. Like I don't want to. This is show 99, so we'll do a recap on 100. But yeah, we're doing some good stuff and hearing some great stories. I really applaud these guys for coming on and sharing their stories with us because these are emotional and they're pretty vulnerable stories.
And we touched on the show too, like to see a bunch of hockey players sitting around talking about their feelings. Like, that was never going to happen.
Well, because you're not hockey players, you're human beings.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
who played hockey.
Yeah,
and you got to look at that.
I know this is a show from the past, but we're talking about Sheldon Souray now. But Kevin Klein, when he talked about crying in the locker room when he was playing, like that was pretty brave of him. Really, I know you do it because he was brave, but man, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, but you know what though? Now, like I see coaching my son and the kids there. The kids cry all the time at that age. And I remember when I was little, I'd be like, "Stop crying, you cry baby." Yeah. But now the kids will go over and put an arm on him, like, "Hey, you okay? What's the matter? You okay, kid? You good?" And the kids do that, and that's so. I think that's a shift in how we're treated because we need to, suck it up, but you pussy, stop crying. That doesn't go on anymore.
I guess the big part of it is too that stigma has gone away. That just because you're crying doesn't mean you're weak. Right?
Means one of your emotions is working. Yeah. But what I like to think about emotion is I love this show, and I love that every time Wayne Gretzky's name comes up, you guys are like little kids. You guys are like fans. Maybe not so much you because you play with them more, but like everybody's got a Wayne story. Everybody. I mean, I have a Wayne story. We all have. And I didn't.
And they Sheldon talk too. It's he's so understanding about his impact on other people. He's so aware of that, and he really takes that as a responsibility. He could just walk away and just do nothing. He doesn't have to help those people. But he's good. Well, we're going to try now. Now we got the connection to Wayne. We're going to get him.
Yes, we didn't get him on 99, but we're still working on it. He's our big get. We'll get him on because we'll tell. You can tell all your stories, and I can tell. I think I might have mentioned this one before, but I when he was on Howard Stern back in the 90s when he played for the Rangers, I wrote the interview and I was on air with him, and then years later I saw him at something at an event, and I had a picture. I think I had the picture on my phone, and he's like, "Oh, that's really cool." He goes, "I want to talk to my assistant Clara, send that to me, and I'll sign it and send it back to you." And I was like, "You didn't have to do that, man. That's Eddie." And I like in a week there was a signed picture. That picture was signed by Wayne, so it was just super cool. Like he didn't have to do that, and he did.
I'll never forget. Anyone told the story too. Even with reporters, that he knew like a lot of people didn't want to deal with the media all the time, but he always had to deal with the media. We came to Chicago, we're in the locker room at least the day before the game. We had practice. Get ready for practice. A young guy comes in, he's got the suit on, his hair's all done nice, the cameras, the whole bit. You tell he's told all his buddies he's going to interview Wayne Gretzky. So he goes over to Wayne. He says, Wayne, can we do that interview now? And Wayne was good at this too. Like he did this. I've seen him do it a few times. He goes, what are you talking about? I'm not doing any interview.
Yeah.
And the poor kid's face just dropped.
It's fugly.
And Wayne, he didn't drag it out too long. It was like 10 or 15 seconds. And he goes, come on. He put his arm around it. Come on, let's do the interview. So,
But talk about like seeing, his greatest attribute was seeing the ice, seeing the play, seeing before it developed and anticipating. Just think about that. He's at Sheldon Souray's wedding. He's helping him through his recovery. He stands up unannounced and says the thing that hits him the hardest in the heart.
Man.
And just instant waterworks probably for everybody. Your dad would be proud of you today. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And just to have that awareness. Like,
exactly. I saw an interview by Wayne where his father was talking. It was a game when he was like 12 years old or something. At the end of the year, the season was pretty much over. They were doing some exhibition game, whatever. And Wayne kind of gave half effort and didn't play that great. Because who really cared? It wasn't that big of a game. Got in the car and his dad, I guess very nicely, and I'm paraphrasing probably when I say the story, but it said to him, he says, Wayne, I don't totally understand why, but people come from all around to watch you play. You can't have a game like that again. So I think that kind of meant not just in the game, but in life, treated people in life.
Yeah. And, I can attest to that from the outside in my interactions with him. He's just, the guy's just all class, man.
Yeah.
And, you have his number. He told you to give him a call. So we're working on it. Full Change, listeners. We'll get him on soon.
Sheldon Souray, that was a great episode, though. Love that kid. I love, well, obviously, you've seen a lot of it where guys have gone through things, fought through it, and made themselves better. They really worked at getting better. So it sounds like he's got an amazing wife, too, right? Like she's gone through her struggles.
Yeah.
He now had a little bit of a relapse. She could have walked away, but she stuck with him.
Yeah, that struck a chord with you. You focus in on that pretty good. And yeah, I think that's pretty important that someone, and he said, it's very, very powerful. And it led me to that question I asked, but he said that she loved him for him. Not the hockey player, not the guy with money, just for who he was. And I asked everyone heard. I said that, it has to do mind fuck you guys because you have to think that everybody wants something.
So like I said on the show, I don't mind admitting it. I try to be very honest with my feelings where I still have a problem with it.
Yeah.
I feel like, okay, because as we joked around, my life now has become, and I've been more aware of it, I make mistakes because I try to go all out. So I make mistakes knowing, all right, just on top of this too, going back and watching old games that I played. I was constantly making mistakes, but I'm just constantly go running somebody over and then it worked out all right.
Well,
so I feel like if I'm making a mistake in a relationship, nobody's got to stay around. There's nothing there to put up with.
Well, again, you're self-fulfilling prophecy, man.
Oh, I call.
You're protecting yourself from that hurt that's going to come. So,
well, I'm not saying it's right by any means. So don't get me wrong. It's just that's the way it is. So.
But what a show! I'm glad you had your former client on, even though he fired you. His career worked out. And
who would we have on that hasn't fired? Dallas Drake didn't. Darren Langdon didn't. Chris Mason didn't.
So 3. We haven't had Chris Mason on yet, though. I think we need to get him on.
Yes.
Former goaltender.
He's got quick personality too. He's doing radio or TV work down in Nashville, I think.
Nashville Predators, yeah. So we'll definitely get him. But I was really glad that Sheldon came on and shared his story with us. That was an awesome 99th episode. And if you like what you're hearing, leave us a review on Apple. Those are wonderful for us. You email fullchangepodcast@gmail.com. Hit Tom's Instagram up. Watch his Facebook shows and just tell us what you like about the pod as we plow through to the next 100.
It's amazing, 100 shows, man.
Well, 99, but we got one more coming up very soon.
All right, Grasshoppers, thank you for listening. We had a fantastic show. We'll see you next time.
You know how to book flights and hotels. All you're missing is a tool to plan the travel experiences you'll have once you arrive. That's why you need Viator. Book guided tours, activities, excursions, and more in one place to make your trip truly unforgettable. Viator has over 300,000 travel experiences to choose from. Everything from simple tours to extreme adventures and all the niche, interesting stuff in between. So you can plan something that everyone you're traveling with will enjoy. Real traveler reviews give the inside scoop from people who've already been on the experiences you're considering. So you can plan with confidence. Free cancellation helps you plan for the unexpected. And 24/7 customer support means you can travel worry-free. Download the Viator app now and use code Viator10 for 10% off your first booking in the app. Find travel experiences for you. Do more with Viator.